All right, folks, welcome back to Sip and Talk. All right, so I am still recovering from the most amazing weekend ever.
Oh, yeah.
I finally checked out that new cat cafe downtown.
Ooh, I've heard good things about that place.
Oh, it is amazing.
Lots of furry friends to cuddle with.
Yeah, but here's the thing. All those adorable kitties were totally vying for the best spots on the couches, you know?
Right.
The warmest laps, the tastiest treats.
Yeah.
It got me thinking, are they just tiny furry versions of us?
Interesting.
Which brings us to today's deep dive.
Okay.
Is greed simply human nature?
That's a fascinating observation.
Yeah.
You'd think even cats would be above a little bit of greed, right?
Exactly. So to get to the bottom of this, we've got a whole stack of sources for you.
Okay.
Scientific articles, philosophical essays, even some religious texts.
Wow.
All tackling this age-old question.
Really interesting.
And to spice things up even more,
Okay.
we're going head-to-head on this one.
All right. I'm
taking the optimistic route.
Okay.
Team, humans are inherently good.
Well, someone has to be the voice of reason. I'm on Team Greed is inevitable, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see if I can't convert you to the dark side by the end of this.
Challenge accepted. All right, let's start with your argument.
Okay.
Why do you think greed is baked into our DNA?
Okay, let's go back to basics.
Okay.
Survival of the fittest.
Right.
Think about our ancestors, right? Scrabbling for resources in a harsh world.
Yeah.
The ones who were a little bit greedier, who hoarded more food, secured the best shelter.
Oh.
They're the ones who survived to pass on their genes.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It's like the early bird gets the worm and the greedy caveman gets the extra mammoth steak.
Exactly. And that drive to accumulate, to strive for more, it's still within us.
Okay.
Just look around, people constantly chasing the next promotion, the bigger house, the flashier car.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Isn't that just ambition? Wanting to improve your life? Does that automatically equal greed?
Well, where do you draw the line? When does a desire for a better life tip over into wanting more than you need, more than your fair share?
Good point.
Yeah.
But I still think you're oversimplifying things.
Okay.
Early humans weren't just lone wolves fighting over scraps.
Right.
They had to cooperate to survive.
Of course.
To hunt together to raise children to protect their communities.
Yeah.
Sharing and collaboration were just as important as individual drive.
That's true. But even within those groups, there was competition.
Okay.
Leaders emerged, hierarchies formed.
Right.
And those at the top often enjoyed a greater share of the resources.
Okay, so maybe there's a bit of both.
Exactly.
A balance between the urge to compete and the need to cooperate.
Exactly. But the question is, which impulse is stronger?
Right.
Which one wins out more often? And if we're being honest, haven't we all experienced that little voice in our heads whispering, I want more?
Touché.
Yeah.
All right, let me throw you a curveball then. Think about all those studies where people choose to be fair, even when they could cheat and get a bigger reward.
Okay.
Doesn't that prove we have an inherent sense of justice? A desire for fairness that goes beyond pure self-interest?
Those studies are interesting, for sure.
Yeah.
But remember, they're often conducted in very controlled environments.
Okay.
The stakes are low, the consequences minimal.
Yeah.
In the real world, with real-life pressures and temptations, I think that sense of fairness can get, well, a little blurry.
Yeah, you might have a point there.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving up yet. I still believe in the power of kindness and compassion.
Okay.
I mean, just look at all the amazing acts of generosity we see every day.
Yeah.
People volunteering their time, donating to charity, helping strangers in need.
I'm not saying those acts don't exist, but are they truly selfless, or are they motivated by a desire to feel good about ourselves, to earn social approval, or even to secure some kind of karmic reward down the line?
Oh.
Human motivations are rarely black and white.
Laughs.
But before you get too smug,
Okay.
I've got one more point for you.
Right.
Most cultures and religions actually condemn greed. They promote values like generosity, compassion, and contentment.
Okay.
These aren't fringe ideas.
Yeah.
They're woven into the fabric of human societies across the globe.
Absolutely. But I'd argue that those values are constantly being challenged by the systems we live in, especially capitalism, which encourages competition, consumerism, and the relentless pursuit of profit.
Right.
Maybe it's not our nature that's inherently greedy, but the environment we've created for ourselves.
Oh, that's a thought-provoking point.
Isn't it?
Are we just products of our environment? Are we all just hamsters on a wheel chasing after more?
I think it's more nuanced than that.
Right.
It's a complex interplay of nature and nurture, biology, and social conditioning.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
All right, we'll pick this up after a quick break. Okay. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. All right, we're back and ready to tackle the second half of this greed conundrum.
Yeah.
So we've established that humans have this, let's call it a complex relationship with wanting more.
That's one way to put it.
Right.
But I'm curious.
Yeah.
Do you think this wanting more intensifies when we feel like there's not enough to go around?
Ooh.
Does scarcity breed greed?
That's a good question. Yeah. I know I get a little possessive when it comes to the last slice of pizza.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
But think about it on a larger scale.
Okay.
Conflicts over land resources, even political power.
Yeah.
Are those driven by actual scarcity or perceived scarcity?
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe it's less about how much stuff there actually is.
Right.
And more about that fear of missing out.
Exactly.
Like if I don't grab it now, someone else will.
Precisely.
Right.
And that fear can be incredibly powerful. It can lead to hoarding, price gouging, all sorts of behaviors we typically associate with greed.
Right.
Think about the frenzy during a natural disaster.
Okay.
People fighting over bottled water and batteries.
Yeah. That's a pretty dark side of human nature.
Yeah.
But does that mean we're doomed to be greedy forever? Are we all just slaves to our primal instincts?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Remember those social systems we talked about?
Yes.
The ones that promote cooperation and a sense of shared security?
Right.
They might hold the key to mitigating some of these negative impulses.
You mean like those Scandinavian countries everyone's always talking? High taxes, but big social safety nets.
Exactly. Those systems are designed to reduce inequality and create a sense of stability for everyone. When people's basic needs are met when they feel supported by their community, perhaps that drive to hoard and compete lessens.
So maybe it's not about erasing our biological impulses,
right,
but about creating environments that channel them in a more positive direction. Like instead of a dog-eat-dog world, we create a world where collaboration and shared success are the goals.
It's about fostering a sense of collective well-being rather than just focusing on individual gain.
Okay. But what about those super rich folks?
Okay.
The Bezos, the Musks, the Zuckerbergs of the world.
Yeah.
Are they just like mega greedy?
Right.
Or is there something else going on there?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
On one hand, they've accumulated wealth beyond most people's wildest dreams.
Right.
On the other, many of them are engaged in philanthropy, trying to solve global problems.
So are they greedy or generous? Villains or visionaries? I'm so confused.
It's not always so black and white, and maybe focusing on individual cases isn't the most productive approach. Instead, we should look at the systems that allow such vast wealth accumulation in the first place.
Okay.
And ask ourselves if those systems are serving the greater good.
Okay, you're blowing my mind again. So are we saying that greed is less about individual bad apples and more about the barrel itself?
Possibly.
The systems that shape our behavior.
I think that's a more nuanced way to look at it.
Right.
And it suggests that the solutions might lie in systemic change rather than simply expecting individuals to overcome their innate drives.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From cavemen to billionaires, from social systems to the psychology of scarcity.
It's been a journey.
It has. Where does all this leave us?
Right.
Have we cracked the code on whether greed is truly human nature?
I don't think there's a simple answer.
Right.
But I think we've gained a deeper understanding of the complex forces at play.
Yeah.
The biological urges, the social influences, the individual choices.
Right.
That all contribute to this multifaceted phenomenon we call greed.
I agree. It's like we've got this inner battle going on, the gimme monster versus the let's share angel on our shoulders.
Laughs. I love that analogy. And maybe the key is to become more aware of those competing voices, to understand the factors that influence our choices.
Right.
And to create environments that nurture our better angels.
So what you're saying is there's hope.
I think so.
We're not doomed to be ruled by our greed.
I believe there's always hope, but it requires conscious effort.
Okay.
To create a world where cooperation, compassion, and a sense of shared prosperity prevail.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. So dear listeners, what do you think? Are we destined to be ruled by our primal urges? Or can we evolve into a more enlightened cooperative species?
We want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Head over to our Sip and Talk socials and tell us, do you think greed is in our nature?
Yeah.
Can we transcend it?
Because ultimately, this isn't just an academic debate. It's about the kind of world we want to live in. Well, we've been going back and forth about whether greed is this, like, hardwired instinct, right?
Right.
Like something we're just stuck with, because of evolution.
Yes, the nature versus nurture debate is a fascinating one.
Right, but what if we can actually, evolve beyond that instinct? What if our brains are more adaptable than we think?
Interesting.
I mean, think about how much human behavior has already changed over time.
Indeed. Societies that once accepted slavery now consider it abhorrent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our understanding of things like gender roles and environmental responsibility has evolved dramatically.
It has.
So you're suggesting our understanding of greed could undergo a similar transformation.
It's possible, but wouldn't that require a fundamental shift in human consciousness?
Sure, it's a tall order.
Yeah.
But humans have accomplished some pretty incredible things throughout history.
That's true.
I mean, we put a man on the moon, invented the internet, we cracked the genetic code.
We did.
You're suggesting we could apply that same ingenuity to tackling the problem of greed.
Perhaps, but it would require a collective effort, a willingness to challenge deeply ingrained assumptions about human nature and the way we organize our societies.
So what if instead of competing for the biggest yacht or the highest skyscraper, we started competing for the most sustainable city or the most equitable society?
Now, that's a competition I could get behind. It's a compelling vision. It really is.
Right. I love that. I think we're standing at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And the path we choose will determine the fate of humanity.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping that future.
Absolutely.
Our choices, our actions, our values, they all contribute to the collective outcome.
So to our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. Do you think greed is an inevitable part of human nature? Can we transcend it? Head over to our Sip and Talk socials and share your thoughts. Let's keep this conversation going, because ultimately this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate.
Right.
It's about the kind of world we want to live in, the kind of legacy we want to leave behind.
Absolutely well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep sipping, keep talking, and keep those minds open.